I had an opportunity to get on the plane after that by myself because my parents went home a little early. My sister went home a little later. And you put your headphones in when you're walking through the airport. And, especially after a moment like that, I'm listening to gospel music, Christian, I'm listening to everything. NDIRE, all of that. And as I'm listening to the music and I'm just emoting and I'm in this space, I got to be honest with you, I'm wrestling with God. And there are a ton of questions that are in my head. And the one question I could not get out of my head, that I just could not get past, was why? Okay, God, you reunited us, amazing. You rescued me, incredible, thank you, right? Life-saving. But why did you leave my brothers and my sisters in? Right? Because you want to enjoy the moment, but you're looking at your brothers and your sisters. And you're going, should I feel guilty? And then you're like, God, how does this make sense? They grew up with nothing. I grew up with not everything, but more and opportunity and all. I wouldn't be on this stage today without it. And so I'm wrestling with God and I'm going, why? And it was really a smaller question related to a bigger question that I think we all wrestle with in this, why do good things happen to bad people? Why do bad things happen to good people? God, how are you working this thing? What is all this about? How come I'm in America but there are people over in Africa that don't have anything? How come I grew up with one father but they grew up with both parents? How come I grew up rich and they grew up poor? It's a question we wrestle with in this life that we're living in. And as I'm wrestling with God, he simply says to me, I rescued you and I took you and your sister out because I had a plan. I had a plan. And he started to explain this concept to me that with AIDS in Kenya at an all-time high, and with human trafficking in America at an all-time high, and with poverty, in pockets just next door, just down the street, and with the racial tensions that are happening in our country, come on, can we be honest? It was dormant for a while, and it seemed, some people say, it's worse than it's ever been. And here's the deal: there are a ton of us, most of us, on the sidelines, going, man, let's just heal the divide. Let's just destroy it. Let's just come together. Let's just be one, right? But it seems like as soon as we start something, it blows up, and it's all these different things, and then you take free will and you drop it in the middle of that. And God says to me, and you get what we call this life. And it's messy. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. And sometimes we find ourselves in situations going, God, what in the world? And he says, but in the midst of the chaos, I have a plan. Woo! He said, in the midst of the chaos, I have a plan to set the captive free. In the midst of the chaos, I am doing everything that I can to work this thing with all of the idiosyncrasies, and because I have a plan to redeem humanity. We know how the story ends. And so I feel like God sent me here today to say, wherever you are, he has a plan. He said to me in that moment, I'll never forget it, he said, I took you and your sister out so I could trade 2 for 80,000 later on. Because I have a plan. Here's the deal. His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. And sometimes we may find ourselves in situations that just at the end of the day, it don't make sense. God, well, why am I suffering? And some people, what's happening? But I want to tell you this, and I want to give you hope that God has a plan to bring order to chaos. And that's what he has been doing from the beginning to the end. If you just hold on, if you faint not, you will read. God will restore the broken pieces of your life and of your story the way he restored ours. But here's the big kicker right here. And this is the piece that I think messes us all up sometimes, that a lot of us even struggle with. You cannot access the plan that God has for your life if you don't put your will down and pick up his will. I mean, when I think about our story, that's our story, right? I mean, there were pockets in our story at every corner when somebody had an opportunity to pick up God's will and put theirs down, and they had to choose. My mother, when she had us, I mean, she didn't want to give us up, but again, it didn't make sense to me at the time. But when I even talked to her now, she's like, I just felt like I had to give. I didn't know if it was going to work out. I prayed. I gave you up. And then our parents that came and adopted us, right? Everything about that situation said, do not adopt them. Do not adopt them. And they stepped back and they said, but God, what are you saying? God, what are you saying? And he said, I want you to do it. And they put their will down. They picked up his will. And my sister didn't want to go on the Steve Harvey show, but she did. I mean, you remember what she said. I don't want to do it, but I feel like God is doing something. And because there were moments when everybody put their wills down and picked up God's will, our story was able to connect to God's story, and it led to a greater story. And so, if there's one thing I want to leave you with today, is this sentence right here. Put it on the screen for me. That when your story connects to God's story, it leads to a greater story. And so you may find yourself in a crazy situation right now, trying to figure out how is this going to work out. And let me tell you this, if you continuously put your wills down and pick up God's will in the moment, it will connect to his story and it will lead to a greater story. But you got to get out of the way. And you got to let him step in. Come on, let's stand up at all of our campuses. If you have somebody next to you, would you just grab their hand as we get ready to close for today? Would you close your eyes in this room and at every campus and just let me talk to you? I don't know where you are this morning. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know what situation you're in. But I want to let you know this, that God has a greater story available for you. And he wants to tell it. He has a plan for your life. He wants good things for you. No situation is too messy for God to fix. No situation is too messy for redemption to take place. And if you don't believe in him today, he still wants you and he has a plan for you. He has a greater story waiting on you to put your will down and get with him. And so I want to pray for every person that's in this room that may be considering adoption. I think maybe this might be a moment where God is maybe pushing you over the edge and saying, hey, go ahead and do it. Adoption will save lives. It will change lives. It is a part of his plan. I want to pray for somebody that's in a dark situation that's chaotic, and you're going, is there ever a light coming? Will it ever come? Is there a light available for me? Will I ever make it out of this? God, can you fix it? God, where are you? I want to tell you this. Hold on. I pray that they will hold on. And they would know that as they stay with you, it will lead to a greater story. God, you've not promised us perfection, but that you be with us in the imperfection. And you are writing an incredible story with our lives and with this world, all leading to an incredible end that we know is coming. Thank you for letting us play our part. Thank you for letting us be a part. Let hope fill the room. And let us know that you're for us. And let us remember that when our story connects to yours, it leads to something greater. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's sing together.
If you'd like to step into God's plan for your life and you want someone to pray for you right here and right now, we would be honored and privileged to do that. There will be a prayer team at the front. You guys can come forward. For the rest of us, let's respond with this song. just as I am. You're blind in sin and shame. Jacob was my curse and was my name. Who can heal a broken heart like mine? Though tossed about, fighting fear and grave, I've heard about a king who knows my name. That's right. What God would bleed and die to ransom me, just as I am, I come. Just as I am, I come. And you wash the dirt from my hands with your blood, call me friend. Now I stand amazed at what you've done. Lord, I stand in awe of your great love, just as I am. It's the good news. Behold, a bloody cross and empty tomb. The Father's ear has heard that turn to see the friend of every sinner. It is Jesus, risen Jesus, just as I am, I come. Just as I am, I come. You wash the dirt from my hands with your blood, call me friend. Now I stand amazed at what you've done, yeah. Just as I am, I come. Just as I am, I come, yeah. You wash the dirt from my hands with your blood, call me friend. Now I stand amazed at what you've done. Lord, I stand. Come on, church, from the front to the back, let's lift it up and praise the Lord. Hallelujah, what a Savior. Hallelujah, what a friend. My Jesus, King of heaven, on Christ the rock. Come on, let's sing it again. Hallelujah. We sing hallelujah, what a Savior. Hallelujah, what a friend. My Jesus, King of heaven, on Christ the rock I stand. Just as I am, I come. Just as I am, I come. Come on, church. From dust to glory, you call me holy. Forever I am. Just as I am, yeah. Hallelujah, what a Savior. Hallelujah, what a friend. My Jesus, King of heaven, on Christ the rock I
All right. Well, can we please thank Sam one more time for coming and sharing his story with us? I pray that wherever you are in your journey, that God spoke to you through his story. I know that Tony and Sam will be in the back. They would love to meet you, hug you. Sam has got a book, Find Your Voice. He also has a podcast called A Greater Story. So if you want to learn more and how to take those truths of what he's learned to apply them to your life, those are some great ways to do that. Before you head out the doors today, let me give you a couple of announcements. First of all, next week is Mother's Day, and it is a fantastic opportunity to invite the people that you know to come back, whether you see Mother's Day as one of the best holidays of the year or it's something that you really struggle with. I promise you, next week will minister to you, will be an encouragement to you. So I want to welcome you back next week and bring a friend with you. Also, we want to ask you, we're a Highpoint family, and one of the ways that we can continue our worship throughout the week is through our giving. There's going to be some information on the screens right now about Push Pay. It's one way that you can give. We want to be people who are grateful givers, and if maybe you have not begun giving yet, we encourage you to do that. Join in, become a difference maker. If you are somebody who already gives faithfully, we just want to thank you. We appreciate you for doing that. And again, you can use Push Pay. You can also use the black boxes in the back. And we love you. We can't wait to see you next week. Have a fantastic, beautiful Sunday afternoon.